She was the first rank holder in MG University in the final batch of pre-degree, third rank in BCom, and also secured first rank in MCom from University of Kerala. She have got an international exposure in teaching. She has completed a PhD from Mahatma Gandhi University. Her area of research was customer relationship management and business performance of NBFC in Kerala. Her study was one of the pioneer studies about customer relationship management in NBFC in the country. She has several national and international publications. With this brief introduction, I invite Dr. Diana Isaac for the presentation. And the topic of her presentation is recent trends in personal investment behavior. Ma'am.
Thank you, Abhisha. Am I audible, Abhisha?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so shall I start my sharing the content?
Okay, okay.
Is the screen coming up? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Madam, you can change it to presentation mode.
No, it is. I want to go to the first slide actually. It appears to be stuck. Shall I try once again from window?
Okay,
It is coming.
Oh, okay, ma'am.
I wanted to go to the first slide. Okay, it's coming up. Abhisha, is it okay now?
Yes, ma'am. You can see the screen.
Okay. So shall I start?
Yeah.
Okay. Very good afternoon to one and all of you. Most respected Head of the Department of Commerce, Coordinator of this FTP, Ms. Gopika and Mr. Anu, the Session Chair, Ms. Abhisha, and all the beloved faculty members of the Department of Commerce at the Sri Shankara College, esteemed faculty members from different colleges in Kerala, outside Kerala and abroad. And welcome to the fourth session of the one-day FTP on personal investment and finance. And I'm so happy and delighted to be part of this FTP organized by Sri Shankara College. One thing I very much admire about Sri Shankara College is that a college having more than 67 years of history, but it is one of these rare breed of college which still believes that campus life is very much essential to mold students. It is very much required for the holistic development of the students. I admire the college for the reason, and I really envy the teachers for the same. And let me start the presentation with a heartfelt gratitude, Dio Gracios, to my angel investors. So who are my angel investors? It is not the heavenly angels I am talking about. I am talking about my angel investors, Department of Commerce, Sri Shankara College, Kalari. I know the picture is not complete. I am thankful to you. In the investment parlance, I would like to thank you for the very big risk you have taken. to invest in a startup like me, along with blue chip shares, along with blue chip leaders, industry experts and academicians in a well-balanced portfolio. Thank you. And let us move on to my area, recent trends in personal investment behavior. So first major question is, are the millennials investing anywhere? Now I'm sure you know the term millennials. We are all millennials. Probably most of those who are attending this webinar could be millennials, that those who are born after 1980s and until early 1990s. So we are the millennials. So if we ask any of our parents, our uncles or aunts, they may give the answer that I don't think my son is investing anywhere. I don't think my daughter is saving a single money. She is buying too much of branded clothes. She is buying too much of branded watches, shoes, gadgets, car, apartments. She's living a luxurious life. I don't think she is saving. I don't think she is investing anywhere. That could be a response by most of our parents, because apparently we give the impression that we are not saving, we are spending, we are all full on spending spree. That is the most surface, from the surface, that is what the people will feel. But the statistics prove otherwise. And the second question I would like to raise is, are the millennial investors same as our parents, same as the earlier generation investors? Are there something unique about the millennial investors? And whether the present investment is adequate, whether the present investing ecosystem is adequate to address the needs of the millennial investors. So here we need to know, where are they investing, their trends in investing. My presentation is focused on recent new generation investment opportunities which are trending among the millennials, and why they prefer that, and why it is different from the investment habits of their or our parents. And the first question is answered as yes. Yes, the millennials are investing. Although it is widely believed that we are spending too much, the statistics prove that millennials are investing, especially during the pandemic years 2020 and 2021. The active investor accounts have risen up to 10.4 million in 2020. And the millennials are excited about investment opportunities which are quite different from our previous generations. The millennials are interested in investment avenues which are short term, short to medium term, which are giving them instant liquidity and which offers least amount of collateral. And if you inquire the millennials, we can understand that they are not interested to lock their funds for a long time future. So they reject the traditional investment ideas and they are for digital contemporary avenues, new opportunities in investment where they can do it in their fingertips digitally, and the newer investment avenues like AIF, mutual fund, crypto, small case, and so on. So we may have to discuss all these in our presentation. Strategy which I am doing in this presentation is, let's explore and go each concept. For those who are from outside Kerala, this is a very famous movie dialogue which is close to all the Malayalis. What I mean is that we will ask, whenever new concept is coming in the presentation, we will explain that and we will move on. So one term you found in the previous slide is small case. I don't know whether it is familiar. Anyway, for the past 10 years, I have been teaching security analysis and I have not seen this term small case coming in our syllabus. But small case is a very trending investment, and it is often compared with mutual fund. So small case is also a basket of securities, maybe up to 50 stocks, which invest in a particular theme or particular idea or a particular sector. So for example, if an investor feels that the pharmaceutical industry or pharmaceutical sector is likely to perform very well in the next few years, you can actually apply for a small case which is consisting of only pharmaceutical stocks. So it is like a ready-made diversification option available to the investor. And the main difference between mutual fund and small case is that although you have theme-based mutual funds, sector-based mutual funds are available, that is very limited. The number of themes that is available in mutual fund is very limited. Whereas in small case, you will have more than 200 themes to choose from. And in mutual fund, you don't know where is being invested, and there is a lack of transparency. Whereas in small case, you actually know which are the 50 stocks that is being identified, that is being invested. And here you are getting, in small case, you are getting actually the ownership of the share and not the ownership of units as in mutual fund. And there is no lock-in period, just like as opposed to mutual fund, there is no lock-in period for a small case. So it has lower fees, it does not have an expense ratio, it has a lower fees, more transparency, no lock-in periods, and greater control over the portfolio. But of course, the small case is more riskier than the mutual fund because you are directly exposed to the stocks. So this is an emerging favorite investment alternative to the millennials. Then AIF. Anyone, can you guess what is AIF? I'm sure a lot of faculty members may be knowing that. AIF. Any fast Googler can also unmute and tell me the answer. AIF. It is also very favorite investment for the millennials across the world right now. Anyone, please?
Is it alternative investment fund?
It is alternative investment funds. Who is this?
RB.
Can I hear your name once again?
RB.
Arati is the faculty.
No, ma'am. I am a research scholar.
Okay, very good. So it is alternative investment funds. Very well said. So what is alternative investment funds? It is any investments outside of publicly traded stocks, bonds and cash. So it could be a venture capital fund, it could be an investment in a real estate investment fund, hedge fund, private equity, private debt or real assets. So any investments which are outside the commonly traded or publicly traded shares, bonds and cash, you can call it collectively as alternate investment funds. In India, we have this three-tier category for alternate investment funds. Alternate investment funds category 1 consists of venture capital fund, infrastructure fund, angel fund, social venture fund, whereas category 2, it is private equity fund, debt fund, fund of funds, and category 3 is hedge fund, private investment in public equity funds. So these are the major attractive areas for the millennials. Millennials have actually rejected stocks and bonds as traditional. That is a very interesting situation. Although we are faculty members of commerce and economics probably, and we have been teaching stocks and bonds for many years, we may not be actually exposed to stocks and bonds. But in real investment scenarios, stocks and bonds have become outdated because a lot of hybrid funds, lot of hybrid investments have come up like alternate investment funds, and they have rejected stocks and bonds as outdated. Now I have used the term angel investor when I referred to the Department of Commerce. So angel funding is another emerging investment avenue. If I have a startup, if I have a good idea, but I don't get credit from the bank to the amount I need, or I don't have the collateral for the bank to offer to the bank, angel investor is the option for me. As the picture shows, an angel investor means exactly like an angel. He comes at the time when a startup investor is facing the most difficulty. That is at the time of starting up. He may not have any fund, and many people may not accept his innovative idea. It is there the angel investor comes in, and angel investor is an investor. He could be a very high net worth investor who invest in startups, they are actually risk loving investors, and they use their own funds to invest in the startups. So for a startup firm, compared to the loans from financial institutions or banks, now they are moving more to angel funds or angel investors. This is the next model of financing, next source of financing I want to explain. This picture gives a clue, and can anyone make a wild guess what source of financing is here shown? The clue is in the picture.
Funding?
I didn't hear you, sorry.
Is it crowdfunding?
Crowdfunding, exactly. Who is that?
My name is Fahad KP.
Wow, wonderful. It is crowdfunding. Congratulations. So this is crowdfunding. Kerala has got very good experience with crowdfunding because especially for medical purposes, philanthropic purposes, we have raised huge funds through crowdfunding. Crowdfunding organizations are recognized, not every crowdfunding organization. There are crowdfunding organizations which are recognized under the Income Tax Act. And if you contribute to that crowdfunding organization, it enables you deductions under Section 80G. So what is crowdfunding? You all know that small funds pooled from a large number of investors for different purposes. In India, we allow crowdfunding typically for philanthropical purposes, but not for equity funding. So the famous crowdfunding sites in India are given here. Keto is one very famous crowdfunding site in India. So those investor who have a sellable idea or who have a very social cause for which fund has to be raised, this is an option. Crowdfunding is an option. So these are the different crowdfunding sites in India which made big stories during 2020-21, especially during COVID pandemic. And these were all for medical reasons and philanthropic reasons. During a calamity, we know that the human beings unite for a cause, and that has been made used by the crowdfunding platforms. Okay, this is another clue for another source of financing. Can you make a guess?
Bootstrapping?
No.
Is it cryptocurrency?
I didn't hear you, sorry.
Is it cryptocurrency?
No cryptocurrency. It is like a shake hand between friends, isn't it? I think you are near. You can make one more try. There is another name for you are even near, but this specifically relates to one mode of finance. I'm sure you know that. What is another name for friend you commonly use?
No idea, ma'am.
No idea. It's like without a banking channel or banking intermediary in between, a mechanism where you can transfer funds between peers. So it is called P2P. Have you heard it? P2P? P2P.
Yes.
Yes.
P2P.
Yes.
So this is P2P, peer-to-peer lending. So this is also one very good avenue for investment. If you have excess money and if you are prepared to take risk, you can be a P2P lender. And those who need fund, you can be a P2P borrower. So it is one emerging method of obtaining finance for your business. It's also online. Most of the P2P model works online. And you have the choice of choosing the borrower, because a lot of borrower can place the application before a P2P platform, and the lender can go through the proposals, can go through the risk profile of the borrower, and only if they are happy or satisfied with the profile of the lender, they need to give the loan. So this is also a preferred choice of lending and borrowing money with the millennials. And another question is whether the P2P is regulated. Reserve Bank of India has categorized them under NBFC P2P. So those P2P platforms registered under RBI are regulated by RBI. So if you are doubtful, you can ask for this logo, and you can check this in the website of RBI. They have a list of P2P platforms in India which is registered with RBI. So all those players, P2P players, are required by the law to be getting a license from RBI for lending P2P services. And here, no borrower is allowed to borrow more than 10 lakh at any point of time across all the P2P platforms. All the P2P platforms there is a mechanism to find out the borrowing characteristic of the borrower. So at a time, he cannot get more than 10 lakh rupees, and a lender cannot put more than 50,000 rupees. The tenure is for less than 36 months, and it is based on a contract. It is signed after a contract is being signed. And Indian P2P market, 97% is online. It is due to digitalization initiatives. P2P platforms have received so much acceptance among the millennials. So these are the leading P2P sites in India, and they are NBFC P2Ps which are registered under RBI. The next question. What have you seen this picture before? Is there anything peculiar about this picture? Anything you can comment about this picture? This is a very famous picture and very important from investment point of view. Anyone can make a wild guess. What does it look like? Anyone who want to make a try?
Paintings.
Feelings. Feelings is shown. That is what you feel.
Paintings.
Sorry?
Paintings.
Paintings. Okay. It is a collection of something related with?
Clean energy or environmental.
Okay, you mean that it is based on some theme, a collection of paintings related to some theme. That is what you feel, right?
Clean energy or environmental issues or environmental impacts.
So you are almost correct. It is a collage. You at least felt that it is a collage. You could feel that?
Yes, ma'am.
It is a collage. Actually, it is a collage, but it is very much it is very much traded investment asset. 2021 February, this was sold. This picture, what you see is picture, was sold for almost 67 million US dollar. You may be wondering what is there in this picture to go for 67 million US dollar. But this is a category of asset, a particular category of asset which is internationally trending right now. So if you are not able to identify this, let's go on to the next one. We will discuss this. Another picture. So this is the second picture. Have you seen this anywhere? Anything remarkable about this picture? Or anything attractive you find in this picture? I don't think there are any admirers for this picture. In that case, we will move on to what this is. So, Collins Dictionary, 2021, they have used this term NFT as the word of the year, even surpassing cryptocurrency. So this term is more trending than cryptocurrency. And any idea what is NFT? Can anyone find out for me what is NFT? So this is something beyond cryptocurrency.
Non-fungible transfers.
Non-fungible
transfers.
Tokens.
Fungible tokens, non-fungible tokens, yes, non-fungible tokens, exactly. So the two pictures, I'll go back to that. These two pictures are actually non-fungible tokens. They belong to a new category of investment called non-fungible tokens. So what are NFT or non-fungible tokens? So the first painting is, its title is Every Day, 5,000 days. The first 5,000 days, it's the name of this painting is First 5,000 Days, and it is a collage by a digital artist. His name, artistic name, is Beeple, and that was auctioned at an online platform for 69 million. And that is, this digital art form is known as non-fungible tokens. So this is the newest of the newest investment avenues. And the second one, that cat. The cat is Nyan the cat. The name of that cat is Nyan cat, and it's a GIF. And that was sold for US dollar 5,87,000. So using Ethereum to an unknown buyer. One thing about crypto platform is that no one knows who bought that. This value is known, but the name of the borrower is some hashtag, X hashtag. No one knows who bought that. And that comes to our investment avenue called NFT, non-fungible token. So what is NFT? It could be any sort of digital painting or digital asset. It could be a drawing, it could be a GIF, and it is ownership is based on blockchain technology. So if I buy an NFT, I am getting a unique digital painting which is in my name. I own that painting. So the owner of that painting gives that ownership right to me when I purchase that NFT. And it is a unique digital certificate which is registered using blockchain technology, and it records the ownership of an asset, especially an artwork, a digital artwork. So it is like an ownership security for a digital artwork. And this is the most trendiest investment avenue for the ultra rich, the high net worth investors across the world, even beyond cryptocurrency. Now coming to Kerala scenario. The world is going ahead with so much of investment avenues. From cryptocurrency, it has moved ahead to NFT. And what next is the next question. But in Kerala, what is the investment scenario? I request you to go through this tagline. The trusted hand which supports you in everything. The trusted hands which help you when you need money. Can you identify who or which organization was having this tagline? Anyone? One more clue I will give. This trusted hand is no more. That organization is no more. Also recent news item. Not very far. Can anyone make a guess? It is from the central part of Kerala.
Popular Finance.
Exactly, Popular Finance. Very good. So where Keralites are still investing, it is pathetic that we are still, we have not still learned from scams. Popular Finance, that is almost 2,000 crores rupees scam. One of the biggest scams in the recent years. And everyone know how popular was Popular Finance, especially in the central part of Kerala. And it is a typical case of NBFC scam. We have had many scams like this previously, but still, this is repeating. So we wonder what is happening with the very educated, very enlightened, very what we being proud of, very investor aware state of Kerala. Our investments are still with many of the Ponzi schemes which the world has rejected. And in recent years, the recent days, we laughed a lot with the trolls of the con man Monson Mavungal. When we were laughing, the world was laughing at us. The world was ridiculing us because we Keralites have ourselves proved to be once again vulnerable to any Ponzi schemes. So we have to remember whether we are really aware of investment avenues. Now, I call your attention to one news item on the New Indian Express, November 21, 2021. It was titled The Young Finfluencers. Any idea who is a Finfluencer? Finfluencer. Anyone? Who could be a Finfluencer? The millennials are actually influenced by Finfluencers. Their investment decisions are actually guided by Finfluencers. So who are the Finfluencers? Can anyone try?
Digital communicators.
You can actually expand the term and you will get the answer. Someone was attempting.
Digital
Financial influencers.
Very good, financial influencers. And the other person, you were telling something? Digital? And that is also correct. A financial influencer, you call it as Finfluencer. I don't think the dictionary has yet recognized this as a term, but it is widely used as a term. So who is a financial influencer? They are ordinary people like you and me. Could be a teacher, could be IT personnel, but who has garnered experience in investment and started to giving advice on financial topics, especially on stock market trading, personal finance and mutual funds, and through YouTube, through the social media. Especially during the pandemic years, we have seen an explosion of influencers on the YouTube, and it has resulted in a large-scale democratization of financial knowledge during the pandemic, and they were the major reasons for a retail boom in the investment scenario. youth, especially the millennials and those who follow the millennials, that is the generation Z, have been taking the basics of financial lessons from the influencers, and the lockdown gave the ideal time, opportunity, along with the internet, availability of cheap internet, for the retail boom in the stock market. And you can see the impact of the influencer from the statistics. In the 6 months after the lockdown, CDSL, India's leading security depository, saw a 20% in the activation of the new demat accounts, and CDSL alone had more than 25 million new demat accounts by September 2020. And SEBI has reported that majority of these accounts were by generation Z, not even millennials, those who were born after 2000, after 1999. They, generation Z and generation X and Z together contributed to this rise. And as suggested by influencers, these are the various websites, YouTube videos, blogs you can use to learn about investment. And the millennials reject going to a chartered accountant for getting advice. Maybe their parents used to do that. Go to a chartered accountant or financial planner, look for avenues which minimize their tax and plan. But the millennials reject that idea, and they find it is coolest to go through a financial influencer's video, and they don't mind taking a risk. And these are some of the sites suggested by them. And the era of retail investors in stock market trading has come, as per the recent statistics from the National Stock Exchange. This is only from National Stock Exchange. Look at the yellow. The yellow figures show that from financial year 2016, 33% the market, the client participation was only 33%. The individual investors participation was only 33%, but it moved up to 45% in the year 2021. So this is a big explosion of retail investors into the stock market trading, thanks to the influence of financial influencers to a great extent. And one thing you have to remember here is that the FII's participation has dwindled from 23%, it has come to 11% during the same time. So you can rightly assume that the present rally in the stock market in Indian stock markets are mainly because of the activism of the retail investors. So our stock markets have become very vibrant. The domestic institutions are now only 7% of the market. That is, retail investors hold 45% of the market share. And if you look at the, if that was the stock market, if you look at the index futures market also, this trend is confirmed. You look at the yellow, from 32%, the growth has been steady and it has reached 39%. So 39% of index future participation is also now by individual investors. Domestic mutual funds is a small orange line which has become just 1%. Foreign investors have become only 15%. Even in the options market, we can see the same. Whether you look at the notional turnover or you look at the premium turnover, it has steadily increasing. Individual investors' active participation is visible even in the options market also. So why NSE? NSE option is one of the world's largest index option, and it is a good indicator. So the retail investors have moved to be 30% from 22%. Now, Coming to the how we need to plan about our wealth. We look into something from our Puranas. This we call it as atavistic. You can use the term atavistic. Atavistic means something from primitive, something from ancient world, which is even relevant now, which reminds of something today. So in the mythology, we have one important advice given by Shukracharya to Mahabali about 5 types of wealth. So for every individual, we need or we should keep wealth for 5 reasons. One is for dharma, to give dhanam. Second is for self, that is for increasing our fame, popularity, shreyas. Third portion is for meeting the daily expenses. A fourth portion is for helping your relatives, and fifth portion should be used for wealth augmentation. So this is advice given to Mahabali, but this is something which is relevant to each of us. Each of us should be able to divide our wealth into 5. One for philanthropic activities, one for our gratification, our popularity, our happiness, one for meeting essential daily expenses, one portion for helping our relatives, and the last portion or the most 1/5 you have to keep for wealth augmentation. Again, you look into the Vedas. The Vedas compare our body to a tree. And a tree can bear flowers and fruits only if the tree is healthy. Likewise, a person will be useful to the society. A person can help others only he is financially stable. So to become financially stable is the basic duty of every human. Even that is advocated from the Vedas. Now, coming to this dilemma, compliance versus efficiency. We have to examine how or the habits, our investment habits, whether we are investing out of compliance or whether we are investing because of the efficiency of the investment avenues. If you are investing in a fixed deposit in a bank, because you are getting calendars every year from them, or you're getting leather covered diary from them every year, or you're getting cakes every Christmas, or the manager comes and have a friendly cup of tea with you, or your neighbor is an insurance agent, or your colleague's wife is an RD agent. Pressure from relatives, you have started an FD, you may have started a recurring deposit, you may have started into an LIC policy. That is out of compliance. I think, or I assume, majority of us, our investment avenues are led by compliance. Because we cannot avoid this person, we join there. Because we cannot avoid our husband's friend, we avoid there. So it is basically out of compliance. If you are if you're looking for efficiency, we should be able to analyze the investment avenues based on the return, based on your risk profile, based on the disposable income we have at hand, and above all, based on my liquidity needs. So a simple example is you compare bank deposits with debt mutual funds, assuming both are having the same risk profile, more or less the same risk profile, and the rate of return is 6%. You are keeping keeping for 3 years both the investment, and if you look at the post-tax return of a bank deposit, you will be charged income tax, say 25%, and the post-tax return will come to 4.5%. Whereas if you are investing in a debt mutual funds also for the same year, you will have something called the benefit of indexation, because the cost of inflation can be added to the purchase price, which will reduce the profit, which will reduce your value of your return, and the tax will be calculated only on the reduced value. So you will get the indexed tax rate, and the return will be 5.4%, assuming the index tax rate is 10% or 0.6. So this is comparable to securities which are comparable. But how many of us have analyzed this aspect? Bank deposits versus debt mutual funds. That is where we have to examine our investment habits. Now, this is for a basic investor like you and me, who is not very active into the option market or stock market. But to start with diversification, this could be an area to start with diversification, provided you keep L in the mind. What is this L? The most important aspect, liquidity. Very good. So depending upon the liquidity needs, my liquidity need is different from the liquidity needs of another person. So depending on the liquidity needs, we can divide our asset, our income into all these. You can deposit into fixed deposit, in the debt mutual funds, equity or equity mutual funds, gold, or you can even go into global stocks. To hedge against the currency inflation. And once you have done some initial trading there, you are confident enough, you can move on to derivatives. It should be a gradual process. So this could be something for a primitive or initial guideline for the investors to make a return from the market. And one important good news, very good news actually, to the retail investors in India is RBI introduced retail direct facility on November 12, 2021. It's a very warm news to the investors like you and me. That means now onwards, investors like you and me can apply for government securities directly through this our retail direct facility. It is for the first time the government securities market is being opened to common man. So you can invest with 10,000 rupees. Minimum amount is 10,000 rupees. These are the 4 categories of government securities which is available under the scheme: treasury bills, GSEC, state development loans, and sovereign gold bonds. And these are the minimum amount. That means the government securities has become now affordable to the retail investors, and you can open it online with minimum requirements. And this is a good investment avenue for salaried class like us. Now, when we come to financial planning, our main focus should be whether the returns are beating the inflation, whether we'll be able to have return which will be over and above the inflation. That should be carefully looked into. Then it should be, it is always prudent to allocate between equity, debt, and gold. Rather than physical gold, it should be preferably gold-based, gold price-based funds, because the physical storing of gold is more expensive. So gold price-based funds is another option, and public provident fund is a very good option which you should continue. I'm sure many of us may be having PPF accounts, but it is even after 15 years, I would recommend you to continue that, renew that, and continue that. Am I audible now? Because
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
okay, because electricity failure is there. That's why I was. In case I'm not audible, please let me know.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Then there is mutual funds. You can have different types of mutual funds depending upon your risk profile. If you want your risk profile is very low, you can go for debt funds. You can go for fixed maturity plans. You can go for systemic investment plans. Systemic investment plans are good for beginners like us, where you can part with a fixed amount every month. And similarly, mutual funds, you can go for a balanced fund between debt and equity. You can have a proportion between debt and equity, or also you can go for flexi funds, where you will have a combination of large, medium and small caps. Large caps, medium caps and small caps have different characteristics. Maybe you may get higher returns for a small caps or mid caps when the market is are bullish, but at the same time there is always a higher risk for the small caps and mid caps. You can also consider overseas fund to have a hedge against the currency risk. And depending upon your risk appetite, you can also invest in P2P, P2P lending platforms, corporate debt. You can think about whether it is to be short term or long term. It depends upon your financial goals. Suppose you want you are happy with you can only have low risk appetite and you are happy with a reasonable return, you can go for a short term investment. But if you're having greater risk appetite and you are planning for a longer higher returns, you definitely have to think about long term financial investment avenues. And most importantly, you have to take a very good medical insurance. Many of us may be thinking that you have a medical insurance from the employer, from the government, and that is enough. But sadly speaking, many of the medical insurance which we think are not adequate, it comes with a lot of disclaimers, it comes with a lot of clauses, and it may not be adequate. That you have to check very well, especially in our times when we have a lot of lifestyle diseases coming up. And regard life insurance as an insurance and not as an investment. Invest your life, but forget about it after a year, because you shouldn't consider an insurance as an investment avenue. You treat your life insurance as just an insurance of your life. And if you have survived that year, thank God and move on. So this is like our medical insurance, sadly speaking, is like a hospital gown. It is half naked. It leaves us half naked. It just gives an impression that you are covered, but you are not adequately covered. So I once again emphasize the medical insurance is very important to fight lifestyle diseases, to safeguard your family, to cover your family, to deal with the higher cost of medical expenditure, and so that any medical emergencies do not drain your investment, and start early. And no discussion on investment is complete without a mention of the cryptocurrencies. And I would like to add a word of caution, caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. Because I don't want to recommend cryptocurrency, but I just present this as the latest statistics on cryptocurrency. Many of the cryptocurrencies have been valued, their prices have increased 700%, 400%, 250%, unbelievable hike. But before you enter into this bandwagon, seeing these fancy numbers, be prepared to take the risk. Because something which goes up 700% can come down also 700%. And before you invest, make sure you know the cryptocurrency, the mechanism, the trading very well before you enter. But the millennials are making a lot of money in crypto markets. That is a reality. Now coming to the last portions of my presentation, second innings. Can anyone tell me what this is about? What this is about?
Retirement life.
Very good. Retirement life, second innings. So I would like to regard retirement as your second life, the second phase of life, a much more enjoyable phase of life, and where we are actually re-attiring. It is basically re-attiring. You retire from some job, but after retirement, you re-attire. For those things which we did not have time in our profession, we find time in the retirement. We can go after our passions. We can go after our hobbies. We can go after things which we could not pursue during our employment. Retire, re-attire. So why should I mention this right now? Because retirement is a reality which all of us are facing in say 10 years, 20 years, 30 years time, less than that. And we need to plan for our retirement also and start small amounts to invest, or especially those who are going to be nearer retirement, in things which you would like to have in your retirement, like invest in books, invest in a music system or a camera or whatever that makes your retired life happy, peaceful. Invest in plants, paintings, and most importantly, traveling. So we have a very classic example of tea vendor Vijayan Chetan and his wife, who had this passion for traveling, and who showed us that if you have the desire, the whole world will conspire to make it happen. Just like Paulo Coelho says, the whole world helped them to travel, helped the couple to travel. You just need the desire. But that may not happen with all of us. If you want to travel, we may have to find the sponsorings ourselves. So better plan for that now. And for retirement life, you may have to mentally prepare for that lifestyle, different lifestyle. You may have to be content with a lesser revenue stream. It is a time to activate your network of friends so that you can be connected even after retirement. Enjoy the freedom, because you may be very much tightly scheduled when you were at work. Enjoy the freedom that retirement gives, and choose a place of settlement where you want to settle, and find an apartment or find a villa or find a place where you want to settle. There are people who say, I want a beachside villa. I want to settle down in a cool area. So plan your retirement avenues and make investment for that. So that you can retire peacefully. You don't want to be pestered by bank calls or bank loans after your retirement. You want a debt-free dwelling home. Plan for that right now. And this is coming to the end of my presentation. Maybe you have heard about this story, a biblical story. There was a widow. At the time of Jesus, this widow was offering 2 copper coins into the temple, into the church, when many rich people were donating huge amounts. And people were mockingly looking at her because she had nothing other than this 2 copper coins. But Jesus was mentioning that, truly, I tell you, this poor widow has put in more than all the others, because she gifted out of her poverty, but Jesus regarded that offering as the most precious. So Pikayun refers to something of very small value. So the 2 copper coins offered by that widow, that poor widow, was regarded as highly precious by Jesus. And this presentation is my precious Pikayun, my Pikayun, which you have taken it wholeheartedly as precious, even though it is a Pikayun. And I wholeheartedly thank the Department of Commerce for giving an opportunity to present this precious, this Pikayun, and you have accepted this as, and I hope that you have accepted this, my precious regale. Thank you.
Muted.
Abhishek. Thank you, ma'am. Now the presentation is open for discussion. If you have any question, please unmute and ask. Presentation. Participants, if you have any question, you can ask.
Hi, ma'am. I have a small doubt.
Yes, please.
As we know, there is no legal framework for crypto to NFT. So how much we can consider this type of investment as a multiple income creator? Or is it good to include in our portfolio? Or is it worth to include in our portfolio?
May I know who is asking this?
This is Shalini here.
Okay, Shalini, faculty from Sri Shankara, right?
Shankara College.
You are right. There is very limited legal mechanism to check cryptocurrency, and that is the risk involved there. But those who are willing to take that risk is making profit. I don't recommend that. Please note that it is not a recommendatory. I did not recommend that. I just, while mentioning the trends of the millennials, I was referring to that because huge wealth creation is happening right now in crypto market by those who are willing to take that risk. It is not possible to regulate that market, and there is a lot of ethical issues involved in the cryptocurrency market, and only those who are willing to take that risk need to proceed for that. I don't recommend that to be included in a investor like you and me.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Diana ma'am.
Good afternoon, sir.
I am Jay Krishnan.
Jaykrishnan,
We
sir.
together attended
I know,
at
sir.
the university.
Calicut.
Hope you are doing well and had a very excellent session.
Thank you so much.
Incorporating the latest details. Very happy to see this. I just want to clarify one doubt. May I?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. To the limited knowledge I have, I will try.
Sure. I already mentioned, but I can't follow that. Regarding AIF, you mentioned about 3-tier categories.
Yes, sir.
What are the 3 categories mentioned? Is it possible to say once again? 3 categories?
It is available in the RBI's website itself, sir. Category of P, you are asking about alternate investment funds, I think, right?
Yeah, alternative investment, right.
So, as like defining alternative investment funds in India, and to give clarity to the alternative investment funds, 3 categories have been SEBI. I think it is SEBI who have brought out this category. Other exactly the 3 categories I may not be able to recall now, but I can say category 1 is all those venture capital funds, angel funds, all those new gen funds which we are talking about. It comes under category 1. Category 2 is the debt based and equity based funds which we are familiar with already.
Yeah. Including private equity, right? Private equity.
And category C also, it comes like public participation in private equity, some newer funds there. So you can have a complete list of those funds in RBI's website and also in SEBI's website, sir. Because to get a full idea of alternate investment funds is a collective term. what like P2P is included there, venture capital is coming there, angel fund is coming there. It is a collective fund, collective term to describe all these.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Madam, myself Anu from Sri Shankara College.
Anu.
Yes, Madam. Anu.
Okay, Anu.
Madam, only few countries makes this crypto is legal. Then how the transaction is happening in crypto, and now the lot of applications are available to make transactions in crypto.
Yes,
then
that
how
is
it
a
possible?
very relevant question. Even I had the same doubt. Crypto is allowed as a legal currency or a legal currency in very few countries. China has banned it. Very few countries has only legalized that as a medium of.
El Salvador was the first country which makes.
Yes, El Salvador. If you look at those countries which have legalized crypto, you will understand that those countries have some activities which are different from or which are not acceptable for countries like us. Whereas countries which are dependent on arms trade, on terrorism, on some dark activities, they have legalized cryptocurrencies first. Whereas countries like India, we are having a very skeptical view on cryptocurrency, but crypto trading is allowed. That means those investors who are willing to take the risk, even though it is unregulated, if those who are willing to take the risk, they can trade in cryptocurrency. Crypto exchanges are allowed in India, but it is not allowed as a legal tender in India, and I don't think we will allow it in the near future.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Hello, ma'am.
Who is that? Fahad?
Myself, Fahad. I'm from Calicut University.
Okay, sir.
I have a doubt.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay, as you know, Kerala is the third highest financially literate state in India after Gujarat and Goa. It's a statistical report.
Okay.
But the people in Kerala are showing a weak participation in stock market and mutual funds.
Yes.
However, we compare with our neighbors with like Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, they are having very low financial literacy. But
Yes.
they are found to be the significant contributors towards stock markets and mutual funds.
Exactly.
So is there any specific reason besides the financial literacy regarding our investment decisions? There is a specific reason for that?
The reason is within each of us. How many of us have equity market experience? We are all commerce faculties, isn't it? How many of us have hands-on experience? So I think we are very risk averse right from our childhood. Not only in investing, we are very cautious, but at the same time, we end up in ending many Ponzi schemes also. I think we move, our investment habits are not directed by efficiency of the investment, but by compliance. I hope you remember that slide which I presented, compliance versus efficiency. In Kerala, all the investments are, much of us go for investment based on compliance. I feel that is the reason. Whereas outside Kerala, people look into the efficiency, the return and the risk more rather than the compliance.
Okay, ma'am. Your session was very meaningful and it was so nice.
Thank you for it, sir.
Okay.
Any more questions? Okay, if there is no other question, now let me thank Dr. Diana and Isaac for making this session interactive and engaging. Ma'am, it was really interesting and it was very useful. Ma'am have explained the various recent trends in personal investment. I express my sincere gratitude to Dr. Diana Isaac for her excellent presentation. Thank you, ma'am. for being with us, and thank you all for your active participation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Shall I leave now?
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
Yes,
Thank you
ma'am.
so much.
Thank you.
Very nice seeing you all, Gopika, Abhisha, and Anup.
Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you.
Okay.